Picture this. A man sits in a sterile chamber, strapped to a gurney, his last meal digesting, a feast of fried shrimp and cake, while a clock ticks down his final seconds. He swears he's innocent, but the needle doesn't care. Welcome to Untold Crimes and Affairs, where we peel back the layers of true crime's darkest endings. It's February 25th, 2025, and this year, 5 people have already faced execution in the U.S. Who were they? What horrors did they unleash? And what did they say or eat before the end? These are their stories: brutal crimes, desperate pleas, and the meals that marked their final hours. Buckle up. This isn't for the faint of heart. Marion Bowman, Jr. On January 31st, 2025, 44-year-old Marion Bowman, Jr. became the first name etched into this year's execution ledger. At exactly 6:27 p.m., inside South Carolina's Broad River Correctional Institution, a single dose of pentobarbital stopped his heart. But let's rewind to 2001, to a quiet road in Dorchester County. Firefighters were battling a car blaze when they popped the trunk and found 21-year-old Candy Louise Martin, her body charred beyond recognition. The day before, Candy, a single mom working odd jobs, had crossed paths with Bowman over a $200 debt. Witnesses at a gas station overheard him snarl, "You'll be dead by dark." That evening, Bowman and his cousin ambushed her. She begged for her life. "Please, I've got a kid." But he fired 6 shots, point blank, into her chest and head. Then, with cold precision, they stuffed her into her own trunk, doused it with gasoline, and lit the match. Bowman, just 20 then, was nabbed that afternoon, reeking of smoke, after a tipster called 911. Charged with capital murder, his trial was a firestorm. Prosecutors painted him as a remorseless killer. His defense claimed the cousin pulled the trigger. The jury didn't buy it. Sentenced to death in 2003, he spent 23 years on death row, writing letters to anyone who'd listen, insisting he was framed. His last meal was a seafood and sugar spree: fried shrimp, fish, oysters, chicken wings, tenders, onion rings, banana pudding, German chocolate cake, pineapple juice, and cranberry juice, a spread fit for a king. As the execution team prepped the IV, Bowman stared at the witnesses and said, "I did not kill Candy Martin. I'm innocent of the crimes I'm here to die for." The room went silent. At 6:27, his eyes fluttered shut, marking South Carolina's 3rd execution since resuming the death penalty and the nation's chilling 2025 opener. Stephen Lane Nelson, February 5th, 2025, 6:50 p.m. Texas's Huntsville unit claimed its first of the year: 37-year-old Stephen Lane Nelson. His crime began in 2011 at North Point Baptist Church in Arlington, a place of peace turned slaughterhouse. Nelson, then 24, teamed up with 2 buddies for a quick robbery cache, maybe a laptop. But when Reverend Clint Dobson, a 28-year-old pastor with a contagious smile, confronted them, it went sideways. Nelson grabbed a plastic bag, wrapped it over Dobson's head, and held tight as the pastor thrashed, gasping for air. Judy Elliott, Dobson's 50-year-old assistant, walked in mid-chaos. Nelson beat her with a metal candlestick until she crumpled, barely alive. He pawned Dobson's car and laptop within hours, smirking as he pocketed the cash. Elliott woke up in a hospital, her testimony later nailing Nelson. Arrested days after, DNA on the bag, and stolen goods tied him to the scene. The 2012 trial was brutal. Prosecutors played up Dobson's suffocation, the congregation sobbing in the gallery. Nelson got death, plus a side note. While awaiting trial, he allegedly shivved an inmate, Jonathan Holden, over a card game, though that charge never stuck. Fast forward to 2025, he'd married a pen pal weeks before his date with the needle. Texas doesn't do special last meals, so he choked down whatever slop the unit served, probably cold mashed potatoes and mystery meat. Facing the warden, he said, "I'm at peace. I'm ready to be at home. Let's ride. To his wife behind the glass. It is what it is. Enjoy life. The drugs hit at 6:26 p.m. By 6:50, he was gone. 12 years on death row, and Nelson's last ride was over. Demetrius Taryn Frazier. Next up, February 6, 2025, 6:36 p.m. Alabama's William C. Holman Correctional Facility made history with nitrogen hypoxia, a new execution method. The target? 52-year-old Demetrius Taryn Frazier, a predator with a trail of bodies. In 1991, Birmingham's Pauline Brown, a 41-year-old nurse and mom of two, vanished after her shift. Her battered body turned up in a ditch, raped, strangled, dumped. Frazier, 19 then, was her neighbor, known for lurking around her apartment. A year later, in Detroit, 14-year-old Crystal Kendrick disappeared walking home from school. She was found in an alley, assaulted and stabbed, a crime Frazier later confessed to, though he'd recant. 8 other women in Michigan reported attacks matching his M.O. Brutal, impulsive. Michigan locked him up for life in 1993, but Alabama extradited him in 2011 for Brown's murder, slapping on a death sentence in 1996. On execution day, Frazier savored a Taco Bell haul, beefy 5-layer burrito, chicken chalupa supreme, crunchy tacos, chips with dip, and Mountain Dew, a fast food farewell. Strapped to the table, a mask pumped nitrogen, starving his brain of oxygen. Witnesses saw him gasp, twitch, then go still, dead in 13 minutes. His last words were heavy. He apologized to Brown's family, saying, "Her death should not have occurred," and urged the media to dig into his Kendrick confession, claiming it was coerced. "Let's go," he rasped, and Alabama's experiment closed another chapter. James Dennis Ford. February 13, 2025, 6:19 p.m. Florida State Prison's lethal injection room hummed as 64-year-old James Dennis Ford faced his end. His nightmare began in 1997 on a serene fishing trip in Pagosa, Florida. Gregory Mallory, 32, and his wife Kimberly, 29, were casting lines with their 22-month-old daughter when Ford, a drifter with a rap sheet, stumbled upon them. High on meth, he demanded their wallets. Gregory resisted. Ford bashed his head with a rock, then slit his throat. Kimberly screamed as he assaulted her, then shot her with a stolen .38. Their toddler sat in the dirt, wailing, until hikers found her 18 hours later, dehydrated and bitten raw by bugs. Ford was caught days later, bragging at a bar about cleaning house. The 1998 trial was a slam dunk. DNA, bloody clothes, the gun. Sentenced to death, he dodged it for 27 years, claiming a low IQ made him unfit to die. Courts disagreed. His last meal was Southern comfort: steak, mac and cheese, fried okra, sweet potato, pumpkin pie, sweet tea. Silent to the end, he stared blankly as the drugs flowed. Kimberly's mom, Connie Annie Gregg, watched, whispering, "I hope he burns in hell." The Mallory's daughter, now 28, wrote, "I didn't want this, but I've got peace." Ford's eyes closed at 6:19. One more ghost in Florida's history. Richard Lee Tabler. Same day, February 13th, 2025, 6:38 p.m. Texas's Huntsville unit ran its second execution of the week. 46-year-old Richard Lee Tabler. In 2004, Killeen's nightlife turned bloody. Tabler, a bouncer at Teaser's nightclub, lured manager Mohammed Amin Ramouni, 35, and his friend Hamzad, 29, to a back road with a fake stereo deal. 2 shots, Ramouni in the chest, Zad in the head, and they were done. 2 days later, dancers Amanda Benefield, 19, and Tiffany Lorraine Dosen, 17, vanished. Their bodies surfaced in a creek, throats cut, Tabler silencing witnesses. Arrested after a pawnshop tip, his 2007 trial showcased a cocky killer. He'd even kept Ramouni's watch. 2 death sentences followed. In 2008, he made headlines smuggling a phone into prison, threatening a senator, sparking a lockdown. On execution day, no fancy last meal. Texas gave him standard chow, maybe beans and cornbread. Facing the victim's kin, he choked out, "I had no right to take your loved ones. I truly am sorry," mouthing it again as the drugs hit. Dead at 6:38, Tabler's spree ended. Texas' second of 2025, the nation's fifth. 5 executions, 5 stories of horror and closure, or lack of it. 11 more wait in the wings. From South Carolina's Brad Keith Sigmon on March 7th to Ohio's Kareem M. Jackson on December 10th. Will they face the needle, the gas, or a reprieve? Capital punishment splits us, justice or vengeance. Tell me your take in the comments. Smash that like if this hit hard, and subscribe for more true crime. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.